Hello everyone, welcome to another video. I was looking at the spare parts that I had over the upgrades that I did last years. Then I realized it was enough to make an extra PC for my office. Then it was time to choose a case for the PC build. And I had a PSU, I could choose any case, which made me travel down the memory lane. My father bought a PC quite early at like DOS times. He was using some program called Professional Write. He used that actually for like quite a long time, I think, back until he got retired. Like he kept using it. He is a doctor, but he was just using it to keep the data of the patients. Like this patient came with this, I did this, blah blah, kind of just for his own eyes. Anyway, I was at the first school, I believe. I asked for a PC, like buy me a PC. He said, okay, we'll buy a PC. Like quite a long time went like that. He bought a PC that is secondhand with the recommendation of his friend. There was a tech-savvy friend that he had. I don't remember the specifics of that PC, like what specification that PC had. But after like a week, that PC's monitor started turning off and he returned it. Then it took some time for him to buy another PC. But this time, they made one themselves with pieces they bought first and this time, like new ones. And they put it together. It had a Celeron and a TNT 2, I believe, the graphics card. I used that PC for a couple of years. Then I wanted a new one. It was having trouble with some games. I don't remember which game I was having trouble then that I wanted an upgrade, but it wasn't enough. The performance wasn't enough. This time, my mother's client, my mother is a lawyer, that was some PC retailer guy. So the guy was supposed to build a PC. We are paying for the parts, of course. And it is, I'm pretty sure we got scalped on that PC. We waited quite a bit for the guy. Like guy says, like, I'm coming tomorrow, like I'm coming the day after. I think he sold the parts for more than what they were supposed to worth. I don't remember the specifics. I was a kid. What can I say? But I remember the PC parts weren't really that great as well. But it was okay, I guess. It has a Pentium 4 and had a GeForce 4 MX 440, if I remember correctly. I used that PC for a couple of years as well. So time came to upgrade that PC. I don't know what was the issue, but I couldn't find the GPU for the build that I made. I think I returned some GPU and I wasn't happy with its performance. But the issue is that it was just the start of the PCI Express era. And I bought a AGP card. So the new cards were coming with PCI Express. And my motherboard didn't have the support. And I already bought a GPU and RAM for that PC, so I didn't want to buy all over again. I ended up finding a card that's somewhat suitable, but it didn't satisfy me, if I remember correctly. All these PCs were done with the help of people, like quote unquote. So the next one, this time I was prepared. I was gonna buy that one myself. So then comes my first PC that I ever picked for myself. And I also did it myself as well. So I started looking for the parts over and over, like searching internet. I don't remember when we first got the DSL connection, the broadband connection, but I had that at that point. So I had a very hard choice to make. It was, if I remember correctly, GTX 280, which was a 1 gigabyte card, and HD 4870 in a crossfire mode. One was by itself stronger card, the GTX. The HD 4870 crossfire, however, was supposed to be faster in correct scenarios. But the thing is, the crossfire was a early technology, and it was a risky play to make. I ended up choosing the crossfire option, which was a very big mistake. And CPU was 9450. I don't remember how much RAM I had. So the first issue with the Crossfire happened when I bought the PSU. The PSU did not have enough connections. Anyway, I made the PC with only one GPU and I played with it. I think I was okay with the performance. I think this was also the first downfall of the PC. We ended up trying to return it for another PSU, which they accepted because like we already built it and they had a very bad return policy at that point. They accepted it and I got a different PSU. This PSU had enough pin connections. These both were like 750 watts. Should be more than enough power needed. Although like the requirements of those PCs were higher than the ones we have right now, for mid-range at least. So I got the new PSU and I installed it and I made my Crossfire. It was also very hard to find a Crossfire supporting motherboard for whatever reason. Because I guess it was because it was a new technology. It was much easier to find SLI supporting motherboards. So I come back from the shop with the new PSU. I install it. I make the Crossfire. To my shock, it's not much performance upgrade. It's not worth it. So I'm like, what, man? What? And I tested in a couple of other games as well. So I think my system had a couple of issues, but I'm not entirely sure why I didn't get the performance gain. But I think I might have ended up not using the second card at all. Those cards were running quite hot. They were like around like 85, 90 degrees. For whatever reason, the GPU wasn't increasing the fan, even though it was very hot. And I found out that if I cranked up the fan and like make it blow the air, it would perform better. And that seems to be the case with a lot of stuff. Like the stuff always wants to run hotter than ideally they would. I guess that's better for environment to make it like that, but you're throttling the card. Like this is a performance card. Why are we doing it? I know I that PC didn't satisfy me at all. I should have just went for 1 gigabyte version instead. It was at the time of release of beta Battlefield 3, and I was trying to play it with that PC. The second card, I think they did some software update to the card, and I started using both of the connections, like both bridges. I'm pretty sure you're not supposed to do that. I mean, you shouldn't be needing to do that because like each card has two connections, so you can have like a 4-way Crossfire with that because you use one here, one here, one here. So like each 2 cards are supposed to be connected with one connection. Then the system was working in some cases. Like I was just looking at the heat of the second one. I think some games are just not utilizing the card. Maybe I was getting blocked by CPU. So I generated a trend where I use the PC a bit, then I overclock it to its maximums, then use as much as I can, then get a new one. That was my way of going. So I started overclocking the CPU. Second card started dying. Like it was just one of the cards just were dying. It was creating artifacts and stuff. I tried to oven it. It seemed to help a bit, but it just died overall. So I was down to 1 card and I was trying to play Battlefield 3. It was barely holding. Then I said, okay, I'm upgrading this. But that case I bought for that Crossfire was very big. So I thought it was probably a good idea. It was better thermals and stuff to buy as big case as possible. Not sure if that holds true because the bigger the case gets, the air just becomes stale there. And it doesn't get enough air from outside. The case had a lot of fans though. So this time I wanted to make sure that I get a good enough PC, but I didn't want to spend extra money on it because after buying the one PC holder and paying extra for it and paying a lot, I didn't get enough performance. So I said, okay, I just want some performance increase and I just want to be able to play the game what I want, probably in low to medium settings, like something that is enough for visually pleasing. And I had to make another choice. This time I think I didn't choose poorly. It was between 560 Ti of NVIDIA versus 6950 of AMD. I think it was still called ATI at that point. The CPU of this PC was i2500K. That PC actually I use in that CPU I use in Classic as well. I get the system back, got it together. Battlefield 3 is fine. Not really a big problem. It's nothing crazy, nothing bad. I'm able to play. I was happy for years. Then I wanted to start live streaming. The card was okay with recording, but when I started live streaming, there was massive stutter, and I just attributed it to my low uploads. Although I'm pretty sure it wasn't because of that. Like, you can upload with whatever speed you want. You should be able to get something going. So I think the CPU simply wasn't fast enough to do real-time encoding, and you are doing it while playing the game as well. I ended up just deciding that it is an upload issue and just didn't go over that anymore. It was at the private server era, so I guess a year or 2 years before Classic launched, that I had some problems with my 6950. I wasn't happy with the performance. The game was sometimes running very good, sometimes it wasn't good. I'm not sure what was the issue. I ended up flashing the BIOS of the card to 6970 BIOS. It was doable. Like, it was basically a 6950s or cut down version of 6970s, and a part of the card wasn't being used. That should be because it is defective, so the card wasn't good enough to be 6970, so that's why they made it as 6950, the specific card. So you are trying to get lucky. It gave me some performance increases, but card actually ended up dying. So I went back to my 4870, and I kept playing with that. After some time, I realized that I cannot actually play HD videos of live Twitch, like after several bit rates, and it took me a while to actually figure that out. It was fine on YouTube for whatever reason, which actually doesn't make sense because the game is capable of running HD game and it should be capable of running HD videos. But I remember not being able to run some videos that I can run with my phone at that time. So I ended up looking for a replacement for that card. I was happy with my CPU. It was i2500K. I ended up buying a tower kind of cooler for that CPU, and I overclocked it. It was doing quite okay in my opinion. I bought a 1660 Ti, which is a card that has NVENC chip in it. So it makes it easier to record and stream. It makes it possible without an actual performance impact. I was happy with the system, but after some point, I think the part of my motherboard died, so I had to choose between running with only 4 GB RAM and do overclock, or go with 8 GB RAM and don't use any overclock. Both scenarios weren't enough. It was Classic era. Game was kind of demanding because of the bad optimization and 40-man rating. And I was streaming at the time as well, so I had to get a replacement. So I looked into the replacements. I was looking to replace motherboard. The issue was I didn't really know if the issue was because of CPU, motherboard, or RAM, since it was like a sort of a weird issue. And I didn't really have a means to troubleshoot the issue, so I decided to replace everything that can be a part of the problem. I just went on buying a Ryzen 5 5600. That's still what I have, the overclockable version. The first motherboard that I bought with that was a cheap one. I thought I'm not gonna overclock it anyway, because the GPU that I had wasn't really capable of reaching the speed of that CPU anyway. It was a cut down GPU. So I decided, okay, I'm not gonna overclock this, and by the time I need to replace my PC, I probably buy a full system or something anyway, so I don't really care about it. I just bought a cheap motherboard. This ended up being a mistake because first, I didn't have enough PCI slots for the stuff I had. I ended up having to buy a USB connector. I was using, and I'm still using, 2 internet connections at the same time. One to stream, one to use for my gaming. Reason for this is, if I use 6 megabit out of 8 to do the stream, I don't have much bandwidth left to gaming. While in theory it should be enough, in practice it just causes lag. This motherboard didn't have enough slots, and I was also convinced that it was overvolting my CPU. The voltage numbers were high. Then I looked for a replacement, and I thought, okay, maybe I just sell this second hand, and it's basically not used. So I ended up buying B560 Tomahawk, which was on sale at the time. this motherboard actually has 2 Ethernet on itself, so it is solving my problem by itself. Later on, the 1660 Ti wasn't enough to play Elden Ring and stream at the same time. So I said, okay, I'm upgrading the GPU, and I ended up with a 3070 Ti. And I said, okay, let's just get a new case with this. Case arrived before the GPU, and the case happened to also have a PSU with it. The new PSU and case, I'm not sure, I cannot boil it down to PSU or the case itself. Maybe the case has much better cooling, and that is causing the performance increase. But the new PSU and case increased my performance with 1660 Ti. I ended up thinking even like, okay, am I wasting my money? But when 3070 Ti arrives and I had a massive FPS improvement in Elden Ring, I said, okay, it's worth it. And I'm using the RTX time to time, the visual stuff. So yeah, anyway, there were 3 options when it came to the case I was going to pick for the spare part PC. One was the one that I just retired, the big case. That case, by the way, weighs like 10 kilogram. And this is the empty weight without anything in it. It weighs like 10 kilogram. So you can imagine that when you need to take it out to get the dust off and stuff, you are potentially facing a herniation problem. The issue is not only the weight of the case. Since it's a case and it doesn't have any handle or anything, it is very hard to actually pick it up. If it was some weight plate just you use on the gym, it would be easy. Like you just pick it up, that's enough. You can just carry it easily. But when it's a case that is big, you have an issue. You cannot really hold it. Like there's nothing you can hold it with. So I said, okay, cooling is probably not going to be a problem. So I should probably choose one of the other 2. Then I realized that I'm not going to be using the extra extensions of the things. Current systems mostly don't have any ROM drive, like CD-ROM or DVD-ROM. So all my cases don't really have that slot. They should have it somewhere, but I don't know where it is. So I didn't want to put a case in my office with that part missing. So I ended up picking the 2 older case, which actually has all the slots. But I didn't think about one thing, which is the case is not really built for big GPUs. And there was an issue. There was enough room in the case, but some metal part was blocking it. I thought, okay, I want to use this case, so I will make sure that I can fit my GPU in it. So I first started trying the part, which I ended up with this, which wasn't, as you can see, it wasn't so effective. So I said, okay, I can maybe remove this. So there were just some metal rivets that's holding this inside the case. I just drilled through them. Then it wasn't so hard to actually remove this. So what left behind was this thing. But yeah, we don't really need it anymore, so it's fine. So I actually was a bit lazy, so I didn't really get the PC going yet. Maybe it's not even gonna run, but we'll see. That's it for this video, guys. Thank you all for watching. I hope you survived until this point. If you liked this video, press the like button. If you disliked, dislike. Remember to sub to my channel for more videos, and I'll see you guys in other videos.